Welcome to Lipstick, Laughs and Leadership, the podcast where we talk real leadership without the corporate BS.
We're Jodie and Emma, and this is a space for honest, human conversations about confidence, influence, well-being, and what it really takes to lead in today's world.
This podcast is for women who are capable, ambitious and thoughtful, but who might sometimes feel tired, stretched, or quietly question whether there's another way to do leadership.
There's no jargon here, no rigid rules, and certainly no pretending. Just lived experience, straight talk, laughter, and leadership that actually feels good on the inside.
So grab a cuppa, get yourself comfortable,
and welcome to the sofa.
Hello, welcome to episode 3. We're in a new studio.
We've upgraded already.
We've got a better sofa. So welcome. This is episode 3 already. And this episode is called Back from the Brink of Burnout. So we're going to share a few experiences today in terms of our own lived experiences. We're going to share some things that we've experienced by talking to other people as well in terms of how they feel about burnout and what it looks like. Just get into it and have a good old chat on the sofa. So, Jodes, do you want to go first?
Yeah, well, having had a very intense personal experience of burnout, I guess this one's a little bit close to my heart, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not that I want it to be, but it is. I suppose it's a good place to start really is talking about what is it?
Yeah.
What is it? Because I think it's become one of those buzzwords a bit.
It has, yeah.
Almost like, when we talk about busy being a badge of honour, it's almost like burnout feels like a bit of a badge of honour, and it most certainly is not.
Yeah.
So I think let's get clear really on what we mean when we talk about what is burnout, because when I was in hospital, because that's how bad it got, when that kind of came up as a bit of a, you're experiencing clinical burnout, I was like, well, what does that even mean?
Yeah. And how long ago was that now for you?
First one, 2.5 years ago. Second one, 18 months.
Yeah.
Because I don't learn my lesson the first time.
Well, do you know what? And I've experienced that myself by talking to other people. And there's a few people that I know that seem to go on this cycle of being hospitalised so much because they don't recognise some of the signs and symptoms, which we're obviously going to talk about today. And they go into hospital and then they come out and they're like, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to do some yoga. I'm going to do all this stuff. But then get back into those old habits again, I think, because of and again, we'll talk about some of the traits that I can see, definitely in myself and others, of people that do experience these symptoms. So yeah, it's I see it kind of as a bit of a cycle, and then they end up back in hospital again. So that first time for you then, 2.5 years ago, how did that manifest itself? What happened?
Basically, my internal computer shut down. I was literally walking somewhere, and all of a sudden I didn't know where I was, who I was, what I was trying to say, where I was going, who were the people in front of me. It's like your operating system shut down. I think you define it really. It's not even classed as a proper medical condition,
Yeah.
Like the World Health Organization class it as something phenomenal. I don't remember what it is, like what the word is now. Something phenomenal. Basically saying we're not acknowledging it as a medical condition. But when you look at it, it is physical, mental, emotional exhaustion. All 3 of those things tied up in one. So it's not surprising your computer shuts down, and actually I had one doctor that said to me, basically it's a nervous breakdown, but we're not allowed to say those words anymore. And if I think back to when I was younger, if you heard that someone had a nervous breakdown, it was as if they'd gone batshit crazy.
Yeah. It was one of those things that you whispered, did like the change.
Yeah. But fundamentally, your nervous system's fucked.
So that's what happened the first time round. And what changes did you make when you came out of hospital that first time?
I had a little rest.
2 weeks. Oh, 2 weeks.
A little rest. Just have a little rest, and you're all right. And then you get back on the horse, don't you?
Yeah. It's like you just jump off the hamster wheel for a little bit.
A little holiday.
Yeah.
Little holiday fix it, does not.
But you do get back. You get back into those habits, don't you? Before you know it, you're not noticing it.
It was back again with shrouded in 10 times more shame and embarrassment, because how have I let myself get here again? But it kind of manifested itself very differently the second time round. But second time round, isn't hindsight a wonderful thing? Yes, and that's one thing to say, because, the run up to it, I was 42 2, 3. I don't know. I can't even remember how old I was, but I felt like it was all perimenopause. Obviously, my social media feed's flooded with perimenopause this, perimenopause that. I was mid-40s, like, oh, okay. Here comes all the symptoms of perimenopause. You know, so I'm talking like joint pain, irritability, mood swings, you know, a bit kind of flushy in the face, not a full-on hot flush, but, you know, symptoms in my face. This one, though, like brain fog, can't think of things, going into rooms, not knowing why I was there, what would have gone for, you know, and getting really frustrated with that. So clearly, you know, you're like tick, 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 tick. They're all perimenopause symptoms. So I ended up going on HRT. The HRT made me worse long term. Anyway, that's a story for another day. And then I went to bed one night and woke up at like just on midnight with my tongue swelling rapidly, closing up my airways, like anaphylaxis.
So scary, isn't it? That you just wake up and all of a sudden it's and had you on the run up to that, even just that week, you thought, "Oh, I need to slow down here because I'm noticing some of the signs."
No, I do notice some of them now because I get psoriasis. I
Right,
get it on the eyelids and in the back of my hair now.
right.
So that's my watch out.
So you kind of, but it's taking you a while to learn those. Well, the thing is, like you said, when we're having so many different things thrown at us, like perimenopause or postmenopause for me and my case, which I'll go through shortly. And you've got all these symptoms that are very similar. It's a minefield, isn't it? Trying to find out if the doctors aren't helping you and just going, "Oh, you're at a certain age, so it must be perimenopause. Let's put you on HRT." Then, well, it could just be really confusing, can't it? Really, and not know what's going on. So obviously, so you wake up in the middle of the night, can hardly breathe. Went into hospital again.
They were like, "What have you eaten?"
Yeah.
Actually, what it turned out to be was an autoimmune response to medication that I've been taking for 20 years. So I've got kidney disease, for people who don't know. So I have to take a certain medication just to kind of keep that condition in check, let's say. And my body decided to reject it. So, and I keep having now autoimmune responses.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's some of the symptoms to burnout then, is it? So things that obviously haven't bothered you before. Same like you just mentioned about psoriasis. I've only really started to get that in the last couple of years. But my skin's been perfect up to then. So it's just things that you don't struggle with before, but all of a sudden it changes and comes out different in your body.
Yeah, totally. It's inflammation. It causes so much inflammation in your body. So that's why your joints get sore. You have gut issues. So quite a lot of people on the road to burnout will be like, your tummies will be upset, or they think they've got IBS, or even have I got Crohn's, or you know, things like that. But it just causes inflammation everywhere.
And I kind of know the answer to this because obviously we were friends at the time when it happened, but
We're not friends anymore.
we're friends back then. But yeah, we were friends now. No, I can't remember what I was going to ask then. In terms of what you would do, what your life looked at the time, did you look to the world like you were high performing, successful, doing well?
Always.
Yeah.
Doing all the things. And my husband used to say to me all the time, "Are you stressed?" And I'd be like, "No." Because I think the thing with stress, because obviously burnout comes about because of a period of prolonged stress. We're not designed, are we?
No.
To put up with long periods of stress. We're designed to take a significant peak of stress, but really short-lived. So when you live in prolonged, like I call it low-level stress, it just becomes your new normal. It's not that bad if it were for a few days, but it also means that you don't realise it because it becomes your new normal. Yeah. And that's what's crippling to the body.
Well, obviously what's going up, well, not obviously, if you don't know about it, but you've got your adrenaline, cortisol, serotonin levels are all high. Like you said, it was over that long period of time. It's like you get addicted to the feeling of the adrenaline, isn't it? And so, you know, I always say to people, some signs and symptoms can be going on holiday and you become ill after a couple of days.
Always.
Because your adrenaline comes down because you're not on that hamster wheel and your body's like, "Hang on a minute, what are you doing? Why have we stopped?" To then become ill. So
it's because your body then knows it's safe to be ill.
Yeah.
Up until that point, it's like, we're not safe.
Don't stop, just keep going.
And that's all because of permanent fight or flight.
Yeah.
You're stuck in. So from a nervous system perspective, you know, most people are familiar with those terms, fight and flight, maybe even with a bit of rest and digest. But, you know, your nervous system has got a sympathetic nervous system side, which is your fight and flight, and parasympathetic, which is rest and digest. As soon as you go on holiday and switch off, it comes out of sympathetic into parasympathetic. And that's when it's like, I'm safe enough to be ill. The rest of the time, it's under permanent threat.
Yeah.
And that was the thing for me. But it's the impact of cortisol permanently in your body.
And the sleep as well. Like you go on a holiday and you just become really tired because, like you said before, then your body thinks you're in survival mode. So it's going, whatever you do, don't sleep because you need to survive, fighting against something. I mean, I've heard that I don't know too much about it, but I know you do some work with the army. That they will only put people into the middle of conflict for a maximum of 6 months, and then they extract them out because they know that research has shown that any more than that has longer lasting psychological damage and effects because, like you said, your body can only sustain it for so long. And obviously, in your case, waking up in the middle of the night, your mind had not decided that, okay, maybe I need to slow down a bit here. I'm doing it too much, or I need to change my way of living. So your body goes, well, we'll do that for you, doesn't it? It just goes right. So,
I think quite a few people now have come across the book called The Body Keeps the Score. That's a life changer. If you don't listen, if you keep ignoring things and pushing on, I mean, I'll just get to the end of this and then I'll have a break. Your body will just get to the point where it's like, well, if you're not listening, I'm just going to take you out.
yeah.
And that's what it does. Was this? I can't even remember who said it to me, but it was somebody in a medical setting, which was really weird because it's quite a woo-woo thing to say. But this person said, the universe will keep giving you the same lesson until you learn it. Right.
Yeah.
And that was the moment because the consultant that I'd seen that second time round, he said to me, he was like, listen, this isn't about having a rest. You fundamentally have to change your life. He's like, you need to create Jodie 2.0.
Yeah.
He said, otherwise you're going to end up in a wheelchair with MA. And that was the moment then when I was just like, whoa, finally, like the size of the issue hit me. And I was like, okay. But then it's like, well, how do you redesign your life?
Well, that's it.
Why just stop work? We've got bills to pay.
I was just going to say that it's easier said than done, isn't it? And when you've got, just how things are at the minute, every time you go to supermarkets, they cost more, and you've got rising costs. So the thing is, when I've been going through that and thought, hey, I need to slow down. It's like, well, I've got to find some balance somewhere between not just giving up work completely, because, like you said, I've got bills to pay, but also not going at 100 miles an hour. And it's like, where do you find that balance? Especially being a business owner, when you slowing down means working less days, and obviously that's how you get paid. So, obviously we'll get into kind of the leadership side of it, in terms of people that are working in corporate, because yes, you're being paid a salary to work X amount of hours, but I'm sure we'll get into the amount of extra hours that people end up doing, and can also cause some of that burnout. I think it's not just the work as well that we do. I think it's women in particular feel it. There's still this thing in the back of our head where we're trying to prove that we can do it all. And so I think that's why you tend to see it more with women with burnout. It's like, okay, well, I can hold down a great job and I can be a senior leader in an organisation and be responsible for a team of people, be on the go all day there. I can then get home. I can then do whatever it is. I mean, I'm going to say look after kids, but, I've had burnout, but I don't even have kids. So it's not just that. But, and I suppose I can be a bit more selfish with my time, but it's, for a lot of women, getting home, raising family, doing all of that. And even just and I'm not saying this for everybody, because I know not everyone's the same, but in a lot of people that I know, and definitely me, is you're kind of the organizer of the family.
Kind of mental load. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's the, organize, it's such a body's birthday in the family, we've got to organise to go out for that, or going and seeing family, and just the kids' parties that they've got to go to at the weekends. I just see that the majority of that tends to be
I agree, and I'm sure many women who listen to this will be like, yeah, that's my life as well.
Yeah.
I haven't met anyone who says it's not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you don't exist, but that tells me something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is that mental load. It's you always end up feeling guilty because you think, my life's not that bad. There are people well worse than me.
Yeah.
But it is that, you know, the constant list in the head that you never get to turn off, and it's just overwhelming.
Yeah. Like you said, it's that constant, when you I know you said it before, it's like that low level hum that just sits
Always on. Always on. It's like the phone, the addiction to being, I've had a message, has any more emails come in? I best I'd just check that. And then everything else is on there for arranging horse riding or doing your grocery shop online because you think you're being efficient and effective doing it as an online order. There's too many cogs, too many tabs open.
Yeah.
And fundamentally, it does all come crashing down. We're not invincible and we're not superheroes.
No, that's it. There's demands put upon you whether you're at work. There's demands put upon you when you're at home, whatever they look like. I mean, I went to a talk, we probably talked about 20 years ago now, but there's something this guy said that stuck in my head where he talked about a third alternative, a third place, and having a third place that you can go to that's just for you.
Sounds nice.
Yeah, there are no demands put upon you. And immediately when he said it as well, I thought, well, somewhere I don't have to put makeup on and, like, you know, don't care about what I look like. And since then, when I mentioned it to women, like, and I've said, you know, have you got a third place? And there's so many people that go, oh yeah, once a year, I love to go on holiday to such and such.
A spa day.
I go and have a spa day. But that's not what we mean by a third place, because like we just said, taking 2 weeks off isn't going to solve everything. That third place should be somewhere regular that you can go to. Like, I've had a few over the years. It can be at home. It can be in a room that you go to and you create a bit of a Zen den or something like that, or it can be something at the bottom of your garden like a hot tub, because that's been my third place sometimes. You know, you're in the hot tub and it's like, right, this is my time, don't want anybody disturbing me. But I suppose over the last couple of years, my third place has become anywhere in nature. I've just really felt like a calling to be outdoors and feel like, you know, you talking about being safe, your brain feeling like you're safe when you're on holiday. I think nature is and so many more people are understanding this, I think, now, spending a lot of time outdoors, because that's where we're meant to be as human beings. That's what, you know, where we started off. And yes, years and years ago, you had, obviously, we were in survival mode because you had things like lions and bears chasing you. But, you know, obviously in modern society, you go out for a walk in the forest, hopefully you're not going to have a lion chasing you. But
massive.
not in forest and you, hopefully not anyway. So yeah, I think just that, being in nature, being around, you know, I've even started to do a forest bathing practitioner course. I know you're doing a beach therapy course because yeah, you know, beach, the forest, just outdoors, it does so much to just help you to breathe. And it's not for everybody. I suppose you've got to find what your thing is and what your third place is, but not just go there once a year.
You know, the thing is you don't need fixing from burnout. And that's what I thought at first. I was like, what's the answer? How do I, you know, I remember people even saying to me, so what have they given you? I was like, what do you mean? Well, surely they've given you some drugs. You can't fix this with drugs. Well, what are you supposed to do then? Stop.
Yeah.
You know, and it's about regulating your nervous system. And the job to be done is to make your body feel safe. And you can't fix that with medicine or taking supplements. Or too many people try and get through this by then giving themselves a list of things to do. It actually makes things worse. It's almost like the irony of it that you can
add into the list.
Yeah. She's like, right, so I now need to go to yoga. I'm supposed to take ashwagandha, you know, all these magnesium to help me sleep. I need a proper bedtime routine, you know, so blah, blah, blah. The list goes on. But actually, do you know what? You talk about my third place. My saviour, and one that really got me through all of this, was reading and pinging by numbers.
Oh, yeah,
which just sounds mental, right? But, you know, the cortisol kept spiking at 3 a.m. So I was awake at 3 a.m. panicking. You know, you think something bad's going to happen, but it's not. And so I used to get up and I used to do ping by numbers, or I would read. And I stopped reading personal development books because that was about achieving something.
Yeah.
I started reading stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I got on to, through that summer, I think I read about 35 books in about 4 months.
Wow.
So a lot of books. I took them all to the charity shop not so long ago.
Right.
That was massive. But,
Yeah.
you know, it's about disconnecting, unplugging from modern day life, like you say, with the being outdoors and going into nature. It's about being able to unplug from that and plug back into the earth. Literally, we talk about grounding. Grounding. I've got a grounding sheet for my bed. Lo and behold, started to sleep so much better because all of that negative charge, like literally, could get out of my body while I was asleep.
Yeah, I love that when I'm out in my caravan, just getting barefoot on the grass and doing a bit of grounding. I've not tried a grounding sheet though. Well, I have thought about it. I might give that a go. But yeah, I think, like you said, these things do add to the list, though, and it almost causes more stress. It's like, like I was saying a minute ago around the finance thing. It's like, okay, well, if I slow down, then I'm getting stressed about the finances.
Yeah, that's what I used to say.
So
So
then, yeah, and then it's like, right, so I've got to speed back up again. But then obviously I'm exhausted and tired, and it's I know I left you a voice note yesterday because I was out in the morning, drove back, had a client call at 3 o'clock, and I had a bowl of soup at about 2:20, and all of a sudden it just came over me. I just feel like I just need to go and get in bed. Like even my body felt lethargic and just it's like I feel wiped out. And thought I need to. I was almost like slapping myself right on the face, going, "Come on, you need to wake up with this call at 3." And I had the client call, and then I did say to you I was going to have a nap. I didn't. But I did make myself a brew and just sat on the sofa for a bit. So I did rest, which is something I was going to mention actually, because I often, on a lot of my wellbeing sessions, I ask the question, when was the last time you sat even for 10 minutes and did absolutely nothing? And the most common answer I get is, I can't remember. I was going to say the best answer, but the saddest answer that I've had was when I was in the room was the last time I sat for 10 minutes. And do you know what? That was a nurse working in the NHS. Yeah. And I just thought, because even if we've got 10 minutes, what we're doing is we're scrolling on the phone, we're taking in more and more information, and the brain can't deal with it. It's like,
even if people go for a walk, we put a podcast on, don't.
Yeah. It always feels like you've always got to be doing something. And the first time I decided to do that, I said do nothing for 10 minutes. I was in the living room, my phone was in the kitchen, hadn't put the telly on, and my husband came downstairs and he came to the living room and he looked at me just sitting there and he went, took the telly, looked round and he went, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he went, "What are you doing?" Because it's just so unusual for him to see me doing that, and he wouldn't do it either. And I was like, nothing. And it felt weird, even me just saying nothing. And he went, "Are you sure you're all right?" I said, "Yeah." He went, "Where's your phone?" I was like, "In the kitchen." And he was like, in shock. That's the thing as well. And they're just little signs to recognise. If you can't walk into a different room in your house without taking your phone with you, that's a bad sign. Yeah.
I still can't do it. I've got better, but yeah, learning just to sit with myself. I find it so painful. I decided my word for 2026 was to be bored, to learn to be bored. And it's because of all the stories we tell ourselves. And my mum always said, sorry, mum, she always said to me, boredom was a sign of a lack of intelligence. When I was a kid, if I'd go to go, "Mum, I'm bored." And it's her way of saying you need to learn to entertain yourself. Clearly then I didn't want to be somebody who had a lack of intelligence. So I never let myself get bored.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And then, now I've kind of, as an adult, whereas David always used to say to me, "Will you just relax? Just sit down and relax." And I'm like, I don't find that relaxing. Relaxing for me is doing something.
Yeah.
And I was feeding myself a load of bullshit. I'd convinced myself that that's what relaxing meant to me.
Yeah.
And actually it wasn't at all. But sitting with myself, oh my God, is so hard. It's like when I wake up in the morning, sometimes David's arm will come round, as they say, "Come in for a cuddle," roll over, I'll get in. Literally, he can say, "It's not even been 2 minutes, Joe. You
like that's enough.
You're fidgeting."
Right. Yeah.
"Keep still." I'm like, "Come on." And then I'm like, "I'm going to go make a tea." He's like, "For God's sake."
Yeah.
And it's this inability to sit still. And that's all twitchy nervous system, not safe enough to stay still.
Yeah.
So I'm still 2.5 years on, nowhere near, well, I say nowhere near the finish line. I don't think there is one. Sadly, I think this is always a life in progress, but I just have constant tightness and tension in my body, particularly in my jaw and my hips all of the time. And it's bracing for impact all of the time.
I store it in my stomach as well a lot, and and it's I definitely feel it in my it feels like just something stuck in my body, and it needs to come out definitely.
But we're saying from like a a leadership corporate set. I feel like I can spot it a mile off in women now. You've been through something yourself, all of a sudden you can see it. Well, it's probably confirmation bias at its best, isn't it? All of a sudden you're like, ping, 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 ping. It's like when if you bought yourself a pink car, thinking no one had pink cars, all of a sudden that's all you see. Isn't it? It's pink cars. Yeah. But I think it is becoming, what's the right word? Is it an epidemic, another pandemic?
They have said, I mean, I was listening to something a while ago, and they were saying chronic stress is a pandemic in itself.
Yeah.
They said the statistic, and it really stood in my head, and I've shared it with a lot of people since, is that if you put 50 people in a room right now, 31 of them will have chronic stress.
I know, that's bad, isn't it?
Really bad.
But you know what? I think the telltale signs for me are, high achieving women. They've normally got a muffin top. Apologies. Right. But the cortisol, if you've got weight around your midriff that won't shift no matter what you do, that's usually a surefire sign of it's cortisol weight, and it's putting fat around your organs to keep your organs safe. And then you go and try and go on a diet or beast yourself at the gym, which puts your body actually under more stress.
Yeah.
It makes it just pack more down, things like that. All telltale signs. But the brain fog, women who are saying, I feel like perimenopause is getting me. I'm not saying it's not, but just stop and check, because actually cortisol means your body doesn't prioritize making estrogen and progesterone anyway. So you're bound to have a dip in those two if your body's making loads of cortisol. So I do see it is a big problem.
Yeah.
It affects men as well, but I think it's affecting women.
Yeah.
So much more.
And there was something you said before about for you feel like it will be a constant thing. It's not something that you just go, all right, that's not, I won't get that anymore, get rid of it.
Yeah.
Because, and it makes me think about what we said about adrenaline being an addiction. It's almost like other addictions, it's always something that you are working on to not go back to being that person again, that Jodie 1.0. It's that thing, isn't it? How we've got to work on because I think it is it was like I was going to say a trait, but I think it is a personality. If you are that way inclined of doing that and pushing yourself, and like you said, whether it does come from things from childhood, and some research recently has shown that kids in this day and age don't say they're bored anymore because we've just got phones or tablets to chuck at them if they do say that ever say they're bored. And so they've always got something to stimulate the brain. That means that your brain is just constantly on the go, doesn't it?
I see a bit of a difference in like Gen Z. So I think I'm Gen X. I try and call myself a millennial, but I'm a millennial can. But I think it's a massive Gen X millennial problem. Gen Z are looking at us being like, you bunch of dickheads. Why'd you go to work and do that? Whereas, and I think that the abrasion between the two generations in the workforce at the minute is, you've got Gen Xers calling them a bunch of snowflakes. And they're all thinking, you bunch of idiots, why have you worked like that? They prioritise their health and well-being far more than our generation did. We were the generation that were told we could have it all, but then, we're just left to handle it all. It wasn't about can you handle it all, it was you can have it all. So I think there is a pandemic. I don't think it'll pass on further down the generations, but we've still got a bunch of people there who are going to be very unwell. And for me, I have a lot of coaching clients that come to me and they kind of say, well, I need to do something to, stop the burnout, or I need to be more resilient. Can you help me with that? And I got a book the other week. Don't like it. Right. So sorry, I don't recommend it. But on the face of it, it looked good.
Yeah.
Because the book's title is The Way We're Working Isn't Working.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, right, I'll have a look at that. Yeah. But basically, the leadership answer in it is about learn to cope better.
Right.
And actually, what I have to realise, and this won't be a favourable answer to a lot of people, but I have started talking about it a lot the last couple of weeks, is the answer isn't to become more resilient. The answer isn't to do more work on you. The answer for me is to change the systems, the structures, and the world that we live in.
Yeah.
You know what? We've got to stop saying the business has to go this fast. The business has to work at this pace and deliver this much. Says who? We've created this.
Yeah. But also, ironically, if we do work at a slower pace, there is evidence, in a certain way that actually we will be more productive.
We will.
Get more
That's
done
true.
anyway, isn't it?
No one wants to see that though, do they?
No, it's like knowledge. It's well known that knowledge workers, as they call them, as people basically with office jobs sat at desks, are working more hours but actually achieving less than they used to because of just. I mean, maybe I think we need a podcast on its own about meetings because I get massively on my nerves. The amount of back-to-back meetings people are in that they don't need to be in, the way that they're working, it's creating burnout, but actually it's almost like you need to slow down I don't want to say to speed up because I don't think that language is quite right, but to slow down I say to people, and I know if you would
Slow down to deliver better.
Exactly. But yeah, I always say to people, and I know it's hard if you work in an organisation, but there's sometimes I've probably done it. I could probably count on one hand the amount of times where I've looked at my to-do list. I've been having an admin day, which I don't really like anyway, but I like to be with people. And I've looked at my to-do list and felt so overwhelmed. I thought, I don't know even what the next best thing is for me to do. And then I thought, I know what the next best thing is. I'm going to go out and soak in the bath. So many people would not think that because they'd go, I can't go out bath for an hour because then how am I going to get all this done? But what happens after that hour is I come out of that bath with clarity on actually what I do need to prioritise now. So we spend so much time doing things that we're being efficient and we're getting stuff done and stuff ticked off a to-do list. But actually, is it the right stuff that we're getting ticked off a to-do list? So that's
we're slightly sleepwalking on autopilot through so much stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, just as you're saying that, we're not called human doings.
Yeah,
We're called human beings. To stop doing shit and start being, especially in a leadership sense, especially for a lot of women, they're just running around like a headless chicken. And I don't mean that in a critical, offensive way. I mean it in a compassionate way that stop doing, actually, as a leader, you're paid to think as much as you're paid to do. So taking that time to sit with things and mull things over and let things simmer and process and
I always tell people to put 40 minutes, not even an hour, 40 minutes in your diary every Friday for reflection. But before I say that, I always say to the group that I'm with, who schedules time in the diary for reflection? Not one person has ever said yes. And maybe some people have gone, oh, well, I do it in the car on the way home. Like, no, that's not the same.
Multitasking.
Yeah, it's in work time. I even had a director that said, because I said, I'm talking about putting your phone down, your laptop down, going into a room somewhere. If you're working from home, might be comfy in your living room, grab a brew, a notepad and a pen to make some notes, like journaling, and spend 40 minutes reflecting. And he even cut me before I even finished the sentence. I feel like I was starving for dinner.
No. Yeah.
This is a director.
Lots of people say that to me.
Yeah.
People will think I'm doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So say to him, you're right, I am doing nothing because I'm thinking.
And you know what? I had one manager that sticks out that went away and did it. And when he came back a month later, he said, I've been doing that on reflection on Friday, So first Friday I did it. I went into the room and the manager looked up and said, where are you going? He said, I'm going to do my Friday reflection. He went, you what? And he went, Friday reflection. He says, you what or not? And he said, I am ever. My trainer says that I've got to do it. And his manager wasn't happy about it but he went off and he was adamant he was going to do it. He said, after a couple of weeks of me doing it, a manager saw what a difference it was making in me the next week, working on the right priorities and just how just those 40 minutes was making a big difference. But my manager started doing it now. I was like, get in.
Brazil.
But yeah, it's just so alien to people. It's I think also as a leader, obviously, you're talking about thinking about yourself here, but also the people that you manage. You know, like there's a survey I look at every year by CIPD and Simply Health, and every year the top answer to the main cause of stress in the workplace is workload. And the second one, by the way, is management style. So as a leader, you've got influence on both of those things for your team. And I think, you know, there's certain habits that we need to not put onto our team, like sending emails out of work hours and people reading it. Like, you know, asking somebody to do something and giving them an unrealistic deadline.
Yeah.
And something I've been saying a lot recently is ASAP is not a deadline. How many people say, "Can you do this for me?" Oh, I need it ASAP. Well, that
Yesterday.
yeah, that is just not a deadline. And so what you're doing there is not helping that person to work out the workload, what priorities they've got on. And it's probably something you could have asked them if you were organised to do a week ago, but you're now asking them last minute. So your lack of organisation is now having an impact on the other person. And they're either going to have to work late to do it, or, you know, then they're going to end up with burnout.
Yeah.
So
It just rolls on, doesn't it?
exactly. Yeah.
So we started talking there about things to, so let's round it up. What are your top tips? And I'll give my top tips. If you're feeling like actually you're describing me, I am on the brink of burnout, you know, obviously you don't want to get there. What are your top tips to help people get that?
I'd say on the whole, and this is at work and at home, two core things are setting boundaries with other people and having discipline. And when I say discipline, I don't mean it in a to burn you out type of discipline. I mean the discipline to say no to things, push back on certain things. That was just, I suppose, is the boundaries part as well. But having that discipline to whatever you are doing, it's then choosing your time to do, making sure it's when you're working, it's the right thing that you're prioritising. So you need some clear goals to start with. But when you're at home, choosing to do the things that are going to make you help you switch off, like painting by numbers, or, you know, going out for a walk and things like that. So I think it's, you know, putting those things in your diary, or, you know, taking the time to do it. But yeah, so I'd say discipline and boundaries comes to mind first. I think from a work perspective, drilling breaks in your diary, just like you would a meeting, is really important. People say to me they have the lunch at the desk. And again, if you're a leader, that's not leading by example, because I bet if you do it, your team are doing it as well. So making sure you're having those breaks. And if you've not come across Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, where have you been? The without me needing to say any more, look into habit number 7, sharpen the saw, because that is all about what we're talking about here. You know, stopping to sharpen your saw, whatever that looks like, and taking those regular breaks is really important. I think because meetings is such a big thing, I think a couple of things on meetings is reduce the time of your meetings. You'll actually find that they are more productive. So you have got time to do stuff in between. Something I say quite often as well is say no to 4 o'clock Friday meetings.
I just say no to Fridays.
No to Fridays at all.
Say no.
Yeah.
No on a Friday.
And the last one, I could give loads of tips. I think the last one I'm just going to say is listen to your body.
I'm like you. I feel like I could give you a right big list. But what are the main things? Number 1, I would say, just check in with yourself. If you think you're perimenopausal, just like be sure it's not burnout instead. There's a really easy way to do that, and that's to have a cortisol test. But I would recommend having blood. You can do blood, spit, but it tests that precise moment. Because as is with any hormone, it fluctuates too much throughout the day, so it's a bit unreliable. The cortisol test I had was a hair sample. So you cut a piece of hair out the back of your head, only a few strands, and it measures it over a 3-month period for you.
Right.
So you can see then the level of cortisol you've had in your body, and that will help.
Yeah.
And then you'll know, am I symptoms a cause of cortisol, or are they a cause of perimenopause? I think that's number 1. Number 2 is to try to decide what to pick here. I think the second one would be, don't try and fix yourself. You're not a problem to be fixed. So instead of looking at what can you do to you, look to change the world in which you live in, which I know is hard. So it feels easier to change yourself. But fundamentally, you have to remove yourself from that environment and create a new environment to be in. And then I think the third one is know that it's a long journey.
Yeah.
So take time, learn to sit with yourself, to just be, find as much opportunity as you can for your body to.
Sounds good to me. I'm sure this topic will creep in on other topics on the podcast because it's such a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I think for now, we hope that you've enjoyed today's podcast, episode number 3. And that just leaves us really to say, wherever you're listening or watching, give us a follow, give us a like and subscribe. Let us know what you thought about the podcast and what resonated with you in the comments.
Yeah. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Lipstick, Laughs and Leadership.
If something in today's conversation resonated, take a moment to sit with it, or share this episode with someone who might need to hear it too.
You can subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and that really helps more women find these conversations.
We're glad you spent this time with us, and we hope you're leaving feeling a little more grounded, a little more confident, and a little less alone.
So we'll meet you back on the sofa next time.